Another team in your division that could go either way, but they're pretty much going to lose everyone in free agency. They had a lackluster year, fired their head coach, but we brought in the offensive coordinator from Cincinnati. He's on the Sean McVay tree there, or at least from Zach Taylor, who is on the Sean McVay tree, sitting behind and learning from someone like a Joe Burrow. Had Jamar Chase, how to utilize that offense there. Now he's taking his talents and tackling the task of Tennessee, who's clearly trying to fix the offense, had a defensive head coach in Mike Vrabel. They're trying to move on right now. Then you have this weird situation. We'll probably let Ryan Tannehill walk. Derrick Henry is probably going to walk. And then we don't know really if we're going to move on with the guy who puts mayonnaise in his coffee. There's a lot of questions with Tennessee, and their entire team also may walk. So you may have to fill a lot of holes because we do know you're going to need another running back. You need a new offensive line, and you need 2 new wide receivers. And you don't know what your quarterback situation is. And then at free agency as well, a lot of players on defense too.
Yeah. So just looking at their cap space, they do have a lot of cap space. In fact, they have the second most cap space in the NFL with $78 million.
$78 million?
Yeah.
Woo.
And they can, if they wanted to, even free up even more. Had they, God forbid, maybe they cut DeAndre Hopkins, or maybe DeAndre Hopkins says, cut me. They would save $16 million, potentially have $100 million in cap. Yeah. Then you could look at someone like potentially Amari Hooker or Andre Dillard. Those would both respectively clear up about $6 million apiece. Or you can restructure. You want to keep D-Hop, you can restructure his deal and save $10.5 million. Harold Landry save $10 million, or Jeffrey Simmons save $11 million. So cap space, not a problem for him. Tennessee, the city of Tennessee, or Nashville, I should say, very appeasing. However, free agents, they're going to lose, or I guess, I don't know if I consider this a loss, but Ryan Tannehill out the door there. He'll be a backup somewhere.
Have fun in Atlanta.
Derrick Henry, who is going to command some sort of contract, I assume.
He's going to the Rams.
Danico Autry, fine player for them. He probably won't stay. Aziz Al-Shir, linebacker. Whether or not he stays, we don't know. Sean Murphy Bunting, Terrell Edmonds, and then a couple guys to round it out. Nick Westbrook-Akine, rip. We're going to see him on the Panthers. I hate to see it. And then
the Giants. Either one, the Panthers or the Giants.
And then probably the hardest one to fill, Nick Folk.
Oh, no, not Nick Folk.
Not Nick Folk. The 40-year-old icon, dare I say.
Yeah.
Will he stay or will he go? Well, if there's anything that we can suspect based on them having Steven Gostkowski and Nick Folk, the next one for them will be Chad Ryland.
Chad Ryland, and then we'll have Young Hoku in like 20 years probably.
After he plays for the Patriots. Yes.
Yeah, after he plays for the Patriots there. He would be a good fit in Boston, and I'll say that if you've ever been to Boston or went to school in that city, you'll get the inside joke there. But yeah, the Titans, first of all, since you have Will Levis, you want to try him out here. You have an offensive head coach there. Okay, let's go offense. You have some of the most cap space in the NFL. Say it again, $78 million. $78 million.
Second most in the NFL.
Sorry, I took away $6 million. You can restructure, free up probably about $12 million more in cap space. So we are going offensive line in free agency. We got to shore up that protection for Will Levis. And then we are going wide receiver in the draft. And then we are also seeing if we can go out there and sign a running back if you want to pair someone like Zach Moss or Tajay Spears. And I think free agency wise too, if they get a receiver, it would be someone like Keenan Allen. Just knowing the Titans, they are the retirement home for wide receivers in the NFL. So probably they're going to get either Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, or Keenan Allen, just speaking that into existence. But you have the cap space. It is how much do you believe in your head coach? How much do you believe in your quarterback? But it does give me optimism that their head coach is an offensive guy. So if he is one of those dudes like a DeMeco Ryans or like one of these other young head coaches that have stepped in their first year, and then you go from worst in your division to third is your ceiling in this division, depending on the Jaguars, but you could still be a good team next year. I do believe that the Titans could be a good team, and I think it could be that like the AFC North, where the Bengals missed out on the playoffs, but almost every team in the division has a winning record.
Yeah, I think they're the team I probably feel the least optimistic for, just because I think they have an identity crisis at this point. You're losing out on that AFC championship team that you had a few years ago. Derrick Henry's gone. He's been kind of the lifeblood of your offense for the longest time. Will Levis, I feel more confident in than Ryan Tannehill, but I think that I feel the least optimistic about them, not because I think that they could be necessarily terrible, but I think they're just entering transition. But the team that we'll go over next, the Jaguars, that team's a team that's been underperforming. So is it impossible to see them as the third team? No, especially with how they performed. So I think focus on offensive line, focus on weapons, see what you got with Will Levis. And if he sucks, then draft one next year.
Yeah, and I think Will Levis definitely has potential under the right guidance and under them getting good weapons for that team. They're very old, and they had that old mentality there with Mike Vrabel. Not saying that's a bad thing with Mike Vrabel, because he definitely helped them compete and stay in a lot of games that they had no business being in. They came back from a 14-point deficit against the Miami Dolphins. So if we can go out here and trade for a Brandon Ayuk or trade for a T. Higgins, but I say see who you can trade for at wide receiver, and then in the in free agency, go offensive line and as heavy as possible, and then you'll be able to fix the defense in the draft over the next few years to really compete here. But let's just get Will Levis some confidence. You have the ability to do it. You've been a pretty stable franchise for the most part over the last few years. So let's see what Will Levis can do, and let's get him on offensive line and some weapons there. But